is exhausting, and the newscaster is ready for a nap. My name's Alex Kack. It's Monday, May 15th, and we're coming to you live from the Creative Tucson studio here in downtown Tucson. First, let's take a look at the local headlines. Advocates of cleaning up 9 contaminated Superfund sites in Arizona fear the EPA cuts could slow down the cleanup effort. In the 2018 budget, the Trump administration has proposed cutting $1 billion for the Superfund cleanup by a third, or $330 million. The administration said that the cuts were needed to control a program that even supporters say isn't working. They want to redirect cleanup efforts to state, local, and tribal programs, but critics say that the cuts will only slow to a crawl the cleanup of these toxic sites. Superfund is the name given by the EPA for the most contaminated places in the country. Arizona contains 9 such Superfund sites, including the Iron King mine, which is still contaminated with arsenic 9 years after the EPA removed the topsoil from the area. The contamination has spread to homes located near the mine. Roger Featherstone, director of the Arizona Mining Reform Coalition, said that the cuts will result in no further cleanup. He said that it's bizarre that the Trump administration is claiming that the cuts are for states' rights, but they're really just shifting the cost onto states when they are less able to pay for the cleanups. By law, the company responsible for the contamination has to pay for the cleanup, but there are loopholes to get out of the responsibility. Also, many companies went bankrupt or aren't in operation anymore, which was the case with the Iron King mine. Out of the 9 Superfund sites in Arizona, 6 have been on the list since the 1980s. And environmentalists say that there's evidence that cleanup isn't a real priority for the federal government, and that they haven't gone after polluters as hard as they should. Supporters of the cuts say that the program is ineffective since its creation over 30 years ago and hasn't made progress on improving conditions. A database operated by the group Human Borders has tracked close to 2,800 deaths near the Arizona-Mexico border. The Arizona Open GIS initiative for deceased migrants was begun back in 2001 and places red markers representing each migrant that has died trying to cross the border. The project is run through the Pima County office of the Medical Examiner and Human Borders Incorporated. Their goal is to provide free information for anyone to be able to search for specific migrants based on gender, age, year of death, and what country they died. They hope that the information will be helpful for families who are searching for their relatives. In addition, the cause of death is listed in the database if the information is available. The project began after 100 remains were found in a single year back in the early 2000s. And Director Juanita Molina said that the humanitarian groups wanted answers, and the organization took up the issue of whether they should intervene. Human Borders also aims to show that the most heavily trafficked areas so people can leave jugs of water for their crossing. For the Office of the Medical Examiner, they are able to piece together this information to conduct investigations into causes of death, since many people's remains are often scattered. John Chambly, a Humane Borders research director, helped design the map and secure funding for the project. And he said that while other states are keeping their own similar databases, he wishes that there was a coordinated federal database for everyone to use. And Tucson Electric Power is proposing raising charges and reducing credits for future solar customers. TEP is looking to cut credits for the excess solar production and order time of use rates with new monthly charges. Last December, the Arizona Corporation Commission decided to phase out net metering, which reimburses customers for the extra energy produced from their solar panels. The commission ordered TEP to create new solar rates for production. And in February, TEP decided that the new rates, which resulted in an $8.50 increase to the average home's monthly bill. In a recent filing, TEP proposed that the reimbursement rate be lowered to 9.7 cents per kilowatt hour, down from its current 11.5 cents per kilowatt. They would also include a $4 meter reading charge for solar customers. None of these changes, however, would apply to current customers, just for future customers. TEP and other utilities have argued that the changes are needed because solar customers don't pay their fair share for the costs of generation and transmission. Opponents say that the increases are unfair and don't take the advantages of solar into account. Court Rich, vice president of the Arizona Solar Energy Industries Association, said that customers are investing their own money to do something that benefits everyone. He called TEP's proposal, quote, the most aggressively anti-consumer proposal that we've ever seen. And clearly he's never heard of the fried chicken chalupa. A Scottsdale-based company moved on to the second round of bids to build the Trump administration's enormously sexy border wall. The appropriately named Dark Pulse Technologies makes sensory technology both on the surface and on the ground. And CEO Dennis O'Leary said that his company would focus on detecting individuals who were trying to break through, tunnel, or climb the wall. O'Leary says that his technology would also be affixed to the wall itself so that the wall would become its own sensor. Dark Pulse has until May 30th to submit a more detailed proposal, which needs to include an estimated cost. O'Leary said that they should hear by June whether or not they'll make it to the next round, which will involve driving Bret Michaels to rehab. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about the program that you're watching right now. So here at 5 on 20, we're undertaking a new kind of citizen journalism. We're going to give you the news as we see it, and we want more people to speak up with us. We need writers, hosts, anchors, camera people, sound people, really the whole gamut. The times require a new way of informing ourselves, so join us, do it, and do it now. You can email us at info@creativetucson.org to get involved. And if you think there's a story we're missing, a person we should interview, an upcoming event we should cover, or have any news tips for us, then shoot us an email at info@creativetucson.org. We're here for you, and we want to cover all stories from all points of view, so don't be strangers. And now in national and international news. On Saturday, hundreds of white supremacists gathered in Charlottesville, Virginia, for a rally to preserve a statue of the Confederate General Robert E. Lee. The city council in Charlottesville voted to remove the statue, prompting figures like alt-right leader Richard Spencer to descend upon the town. Protesters first gathered at Jackson's Park in the afternoon to protest the statue. And police cleared the park after a series of confrontations that ended in the arrest of 3 men. The party then moved on to Lee Park, where the pale festivities continued. And according to local news, protesters carried torches and shouted pro-Nazi slogans and phrases like, quote, "Russia is our friend." Charlottesville Mayor Mike Signer compared that to the rally to that of a KKK demonstration. The rally did not last long, though, as police made the group extinguish their torches and disperse after only 10 minutes. Protester Ori Von Dees said that the group were not white supremacists, but rather said they were, quote, "white people that love our heritage, our culture, and our European identity." Von Dees said that they feel that their culture and heritage are superior to others, but that they are not supremacists, because he doesn't know what the word means. But fear not, because Charlottesville redeemed itself a day later with a counter-protest that attracted more people than the previous day's KKK Junior gathering. On Sunday, townspeople gathered for a candlelight vigil to, quote, "take back Lee Park." Mayor Signer showed up to support the rally and praised the peaceful response. Allison Rabel of Charlottesville's Daily Progress reported that Sunday's protest was, let's say, supreme to Saturday's. Only in Trump's America can you lose faith in humanity, then regain that faith all in the same weekend. The chief of Interpol said that the cyber attacks that hit the globe on Friday would likely continue this week. And so far, the cyber attacks, dubbed WannaCry, affected more than 200,000 people in 150 countries. Today's attacks were the most lucrative so far, as the hacking hit Japan and South Korea. The virus is known as ransomware, which takes control of users' files and demands payment in order to get it back. And the ransomware was accompanied by a worm application, or a program that replicates itself and is spread to other computers. The WannaCry hackers were paid 12 Bitcoin today, equivalent to about $21,000, and was the biggest day of earnings for the hackers so far. For their previous high, the group received 9.67 Bitcoin on Saturday. Experts say that further attacks are likely on its way and have been urging citizens to make sure that their security is up to date. A temporary fix on Friday slowed the infection rate of the virus, but was unable to stop it completely because the hackers were simply able to issue a new version of their ransomware. Russia and the UK were two of the worst hit countries by the attack. In England, 48 National Health Service trusts reported problems at their hospitals, pharmacies, and surgical facilities due to the hacking. And 13 NHS organizations in Scotland were also affected. Despite the widespread attacks, much of the ransoms have not been paid. BBC analysts estimate that the hackers have only received about £22,000 out of the 200,000 people impacted by the attacks. It turns out that people weren't willing to pay for those 9,000 nearly identical selfies and that novel that they swore they were going to finish someday. And China's looking to make a footprint with world development by investing $124 billion into the so-called Belt and Road Global Trade Project. The project will invest 60 billion won into developing infrastructure around the world, including the African continent, and developing Asian countries like Vietnam and Laos. China's President Xi Jinping said that, quote, "Trade is the important engine of economic development," at a summit of world leaders in Beijing. The plan aims to expand trade links between Asia, Africa, Europe, and beyond. It also serves as a countermeasure to the increasing protectionism on display by the US and the UK, who are backing away from the spread of globalization. Now, watching from the front row, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Turkish President Recep Erdogan applauded the announcement. But Japan and India stayed away from the summit because they think that the investment is a masked attempt to further geopolitical ambitions. China has ignored criticisms and said that the plan, which they call the New Silk Road, is a win-win proposition for everyone involved. The president said that it's time of the world to promote open development and encourage the building of systems of fair, reasonable, and transparent global trade and investment rules. Meanwhile, our president trolled Rosie O'Donnell on Twitter. Signed documents received by The Observer show a link between the two major Brexit Leave campaigns and American billionaire Robert Mercer. Mercer runs the data firm Cambridge Analytica, which uses online data to predict outcomes and helps firms develop strategy. Cambridge Analytica received media attention for its use by the Trump campaign, who used the data to appeal to their rural supporters. Mercer has been seen as kind of a Wizard of Oz figure for the far right. He sits on the board of Breitbart, where he and his wife wield tremendous editorial control over the website. The documents released by The Observer show that Mercer is the link between Vote Leave and Leave.eu, who both hired Cambridge Analytica. The document connects two companies, Cambridge and another company called Aggregate IQ, based out of Canada. The documents show that Aggregate has the permission to use Cambridge's intellectual property, even when they're owned by two different people. However, The Observer reported that the two firms are legally bound together and work on an almost daily basis with each other. Both companies were also paid to work on the presidential campaign of Ted Cruz. The two Brexit groups forged a fierce rivalry throughout the Brexit campaign. And ironically enough, Dominic Cummings, Vote Leave's chief strategist, criticized the rival group because of their backing from the millionaire Aaron Banks. Vote Leave portrayed itself as being the voice of the common man. But it turns out that Vote Leave was also receiving financial backing from Mercer. Andy Wigmore, Leave.eu's communications director, says that the Brexit strategy was a, quote, petri dish for the Trump campaign, as it was the first time that data science on the level of Cambridge Analytica had been used to sway public opinion. The use of this data was investigated by the Information Commissioner's Office in the UK for possible illegal use of data. Another investigation by the Electoral Commission looked into violations of campaign finance laws because Robert Mercer is a US citizen. According to British law, foreigners cannot contribute to British political campaigns. In response to the report, both Leave.eu and Cambridge Analytica didn't do any work together and denied all of the allegations. Cambridge Analytica says that it has nothing to do with the UK and instead focuses only on ruining American democracy. The federal government is increasingly using a program that allows them to place liens on property if student loans aren't paid. The program is used in 19 cities nationwide, including Miami, Philadelphia, Brooklyn, and Detroit, and allows the government to sue for unpaid student loans. Every day in the U.S., about 3,000 people default on their student loan debt, which has left the federal government with an unpaid bill of $137 billion. In the past, the government has used collection agencies to get these bills paid, but the government has increased in recent years to directly go after debtors. Student loans are not covered under bankruptcy protection laws, and they're nearly impossible to get discharged. In the last 2 years, over 3,300 student loan borrowers have been sued by the federal government after defaulting on their loans. Now, according to the Department of Justice, they often use liens on the borrower's assets, including their homes and automobiles. The government has indicated that they seek to expand the program to the over 8 million people who are behind on their student loan payments. And if the government is unable to take a borrower's home, they plan on implementing a system of grounding the borrowers for a month with no car privileges and extra chores. Former Trump campaign chief Paul Manafort is being investigated by the New York Attorney General over past real estate debts. And according to a Bloomberg report, Attorney General Eric Schneiderman is in the early stages of the investigation, along with Cyrus Vance Jr., the Manhattan District Attorney, who is conducting a separate investigation. The report also stated that the Justice Department requested Manafort's banking records in its federal probe looking into ties between the Trump campaign and Russia. Manafort's finances have been scrutinized for the past few months after the New York Times published a report linking Manafort for former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych. Since then, Manafort has admitted to being on the payroll of Yanukovych, a leader who supported Russia's invasion of Crimea and was later exiled from the country. In March, the Treasury Department obtained details of Manafort's overseas dealings as part of a separate anti-corruption investigation that didn't even target Manafort, but rather two Russian businessmen who Manafort was dealing with. Manafort stepped down as Trump's campaign chief in August after the Russian allegations surfaced. And he's been involved with slimy political moves for decades, as Manafort started a lobbying firm with self-described dirty trickster Roger Stone. While running the lobbying firm, the two virtually created the system of political PACs that have come to bring our democracy to its knees. But Manafort says that the charges are nonsense and instead focused attention on the information leaks, calling them a crime. However, reporters were unable to understand Manafort because he spoke in Russian. This was 5 on 20 News with Alex Kack. Next up, Andrew Conolog explains it all.
The whispers are true. There really is an Uber for food. With Uber Eats, we're making it as easy to get great food as it is to get a ride. Now you can tap a button and have food from over 100 local restaurants delivered at Uber speed. So whether you like tacos with your techno or banh mi with your bluegrass, head to ubereats.com or click the banner and we'll get it to you fast. Your favorite music pairs well with your favorite food. Find yours on Uber Eats. The whispers are true. There really is an Uber for food. With Uber Eats, we're making it as easy to get great food as it is to get a ride. Now you can tap a button and have food from over 100 local restaurants delivered at Uber speed. So whether you like tacos with your techno or banh mi with your bluegrass, head to ubereats.com or click the banner and we'll get it to you fast. Your favorite music pairs well with your favorite food. Find yours on Uber Eats.